Welcome to the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast, episode number 188. Hi, I'm Jill. Thank you for joining us today.
And I'm Chris. Jill and I are your hosts for this podcast and the founders of the Becoming Ellie community.
If you're wondering why we decided to name our community Becoming Ellie, it's because Ellie was the Norse goddess of aging who beat Thor in a wrestling match. Chris and I thought, hey, we want to be like Ellie, fit and strong as we grow older.
You can find out more about the Becoming Ellie community and this podcast at our website, becomingellie.com. Ellie is spelled E-L-L-I. You can also sign up for our newsletter while you're there.
Today, we're talking with Bortis Rosa Sigurdardóttir. Her name is Disa, and she was kind enough to let us call her that. She's a member of the Becoming Ellie community from Iceland.
Yeah, today we're talking with Disa about cycling and how she trains and competes. Let's go to the podcast.
Disa is a nurse, personal trainer, and holds a postgraduate degree in public health. She is the mother of 3 children and grandmother of 5.
Since the age of 10, Disa has been active in sports, with handball and football being her primary focus. In her 20s, she chose football as her main sport and built a successful career as a goalkeeper, even playing for the Icelandic national team for several years.
In 1998, when her youngest child was 2 years old, Disa retired from competitive football and shifted her focus to general fitness, including weightlifting and running. Naturally competitive, she embraced opportunities to participate in strength competitions, early versions of today's CrossFit contests, as well as short triathlon events.
Her fitness journey took another turn in 2017 when her daughter introduced her to cycling. With her knees beginning to show wear from years of high-impact activity, cycling felt like liberation. What began as a gradual hobby quickly became her main sport, and she soon entered cycling competitions. Most recently, she expanded her cycling repertoire by purchasing a gravel bike, opening new opportunities for adventure and competition. Disa, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you.
Yes, thank you for having me.
So you race everything from road to gravel, is that right? What's that variety like for you? Do you have a favorite type of racing?
I started to do some road cycling. That was my beginning. I road cycling. And then 1 year ago, I decided to try the gravel bike because in Iceland, the sport are a little bit changing. More people are trying gravel, and there's a lot of fun race in Iceland now that we have to use a gravel bike. So I decided to buy a gravel bike and do as the other, and it's lovely. I love to do that also.
Sounds fun, yeah.
What drew you specifically to cycling? Was there a particular moment when you fell in love with the sport?
Yes, it was my older daughter that introduced me to the sport. I have always been in sport since I was 10 years old. I play soccer and handball, but in 2018, my knees were rather difficult. I was ill, and so I was not able to run anymore, and it was difficult for me to go some hiking. And she talked to me and said, I think it will be good for you to try to buy some bike and start, because it's not good for me to do nothing. I've always been very active. So when I was 50, the family gave me a bike, a road bike.
That's a great gift. That's a great gift.
Yes. So that year, it was 2017 because then I was 50 years old. The next year, I just started to train and with her, and she helped me to learn about it, and so that was my start. It was just my condition. My knees was very bad. As I have always said, it was like being born again.
Wow.
You can sit on the bike and do a difficult thing and struggle a little bit, because that's always the thing that I do. Do a hard thing in the sport.
Yeah.
Difficult thing.
I have not done gravel biking. I was wondering if you could describe how gravel biking is different. I know it's very popular now, but I don't. Can you describe it to someone who's never done it before?
Yes. The difference between the road biking and the gravel biking, because in the road biking you just are in the street, and of course here where I live in Akureyri, I can go to the country, but I'm always cycling on the road. But the gravel bike, it's on the. We cannot be on the pavement. It's in the grass or where the stone is. You can go to the mountain. So that's the difference.
Is it different from mountain biking?
Yes, it's not mountain biking. It's like you go outside the road, and but I'm not going high in the mountain and go fast down. That's
Okay.
mountain biking.
Got it.
So it's the stone and grass and some pavement in the between the trees and in the forest and something like that.
And water? I think I've seen pictures of you going through water.
Yes, and I'm not I've not done it. I think, but I'm not that trained. I can, of course, sometimes you can cycle through the river. The competition that I set on the Facebook group, that I was holding my bike.
Right.
It was my first competition, so I was afraid to just cycle through the river, over the river. I was too afraid to do that because I haven't done that yet. But some pro cyclists do that.
They just ride the bike through the river.
But sometimes you cannot do that. This river that you were talking about, I think maybe 10 people out of 200 was able to ride over the river.
Oh, wow.
Because it was very deep and a lot of big stones and something like that.
So the racing that you did before is the time
trial.
Time trial, thank you. Yes.
The road bike is a two-road cycling or a road race you talk about. That's the long competition, maybe from 80 kilometers to 200. And then you compete in a group and everybody starts in the same time. The time trial, then you are just compete to yourself, the time and your head. Every competitor is, I go, and then 1 minute later, the next competitor go. So it's a different type of road race. And that's a shorter. It's from 50 kilometers to maybe 25. That's the difference.
Iceland is such a mountainous country. What's it like to ride up those steep slopes?
As I said, it's my first summer to do it on the gravel bike, and it is very fun and nice. And the view when you are going up to the mountain is so beautiful in good weather and something. Of course, it's a little bit harder when you are starting. When I started to cycle just on the road bike, it was much easier for me to do that. But I think it's for me, it's a good to mix this up because I can use my gravel bike longer here in Iceland. Now the weather is not getting so good, and yesterday I just took my road bike and put it on the trainer. But I can use my gravel bike. I hope I can use it all October and maybe November.
Yeah, you have more flexibility with the weather with a gravel bike from the sounds of things.
Yes.
There's an amazing photo of you, your daughter and your grandson all competing in a time trial together. Is that right?
Yes, this summer it was fun because all my grandchildren is in sport. They're in soccer and handball and skiing. But the picture of us three, he decided because he has so much interest in all kinds of sport. So he wanted to try to compete in cycling this summer. And the picture of us is when we were for the first time compete, and it's have never been done in Iceland before.
Oh, wow. 3 generations in one
Yeah, and
competition.
actually because of it was time trial, we were in the area the same time, so it was also very fun. It was just finishing when I was in the middle of the road, and my daughter was just starting.
That had to be a really maybe exciting but moving experience to have all three of you there.
Yeah, because when I was in the middle of my race, we meet each other, and I was yelling at him, and so it was fun.
Good.
Do you train together regularly? Do you practice together?
Yeah, with my daughter, but of course it is difficult for us to train together because she is what we call elite and pro cyclist.
Oh,
And she is many times the national champion, both in road race and time trial. And
wow.
she is the best cyclist in Iceland. She have won that title 4 years in a row.
Oh my gosh.
So it's difficult for us to train together because she is, of course, have a much difficult schedule. And but when she is just taking some recovery tour, we try to go together.
Boy, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's fun for me because now I have not often too difficult for us to do that because she trained two times a day. She decided to skip her career as a teacher and just to do this.
Yeah, that would be very hard to keep up with the, most elite, best cyclists in the country, even if it is your daughter. Yeah, someone who does it professionally, that's a whole different level.
Yeah, and she have go to the World Championship in the road cyclist and the European Championship for last 4 years.
Wow.
But it is very difficult for Icelanders to be there.
That's amazing.
That brings up something that I guess we're curious about. Cycling often comes with a strong sense of community. Do you ride with a group or do you mainly train solo on your own?
Both. Yes, we started 2018 with a group that we called the Akureyri's Daughters. The daughter of Akureyri. And our first project was we were 10 women, and I was so lucky that I was invited in the group, of course, because that was my daughter who started this group. And we took part of a race, and we ride through whole Iceland, go to part of Iceland. And that was the start of the group. And we have to ride 1,390 kilometers together.
Oh, wow.
But the next year we decided not to go again. And then we decided to encourage other women in Akureyri or in Iceland to just be healthier and focus on the health and especially the heart health. and use the bike to do it, because it's much easier to go to sit on the bike and start moving or do something than maybe walking or running for a lot of women.
Well, it sounds like your group's a little bit like the Becoming Ellie community, where you just work on getting more healthy and staying fit and strong. That's amazing.
Yes. And in the summertime, we just advertise we are going tomorrow and we will ride 20 kilometers together.
Yeah.
And one time in the summer, we have a competition that we just do for fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 60 or 70 women that show up and take part of it, and we have a good time together. So yeah, it's like that, and we are trying to make women decide to take this choice and get healthier to using the bike. And we have a Facebook group and Instagram that called Akureyrardætur, then you maybe can see it on the Facebook.
Yeah. I'll make sure we put that in the show notes. That's great. I know our summer here in the States is longer than your summer is. How many months do you actually get to train outside, outdoors?
Here in Akureyri, it's a different from Reykjavik, the capital, than the Akureyri. We have more snow and something like that, so it's very different from Reykjavik. So here in Akureyri, we are lucky if we can start late of April. If we are lucky to do that. It's May, June, July, August, and lucky if it's September. We have been okay this September, maybe 15 day or 30.
Yeah. So do you ever ride in the snow? I mean, is that possible or no? Too icy?
It is possible if you have some people right here the whole year, and they just have put the nail on the bike, and they do it the whole year. I'm not used to do it. Maybe I will do it later, because people say that when you start do gravel bike, then you will be more ensure that you can do in the snow.
Okay.
So maybe I will do that, but I have been a little bit afraid to fall my bike.
Right. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So when you can't get outside, when it's just too harsh, how do you train indoors?
Indoors on my bike.
Okay, you put it on a trainer?
I put it on a trainer, and I just do the same thing as I do outside. Just have my schedule and yes, do the training. It is not as fun, of course. It's so good when the May come and I can go outside and the sun is shining and not too cold and not too windy, and it's a lot of wind here in Akureyri.
How much riding do you do in a week?
In a week, if I go in the summer when I train, the most of the time I go every day on the bike, 40 to 80 kilometers per day. I try to in the weekend I try to take the long tour, but I never go on the bike for less than 25 kilometers outside.
Wow.
During the winter, what kind of training do you do?
In the winter, I mixed up my training. I go strength training, lift some weights and mobility, and then the bike, of course. But I maybe have 5 times a week the bike.
Oh, okay.
5 times in the winter?
Yes, in the winter. But I decided now, this winter, I will skip one bike training and put something else in my schedule, as maybe yoga or more mobility, doing something that I have not done before.
So that cross training helps to keep you from getting an injury?
Yes, you have, of course, I'm not a pro cyclist or something. I just do it for fun, but I try to compete because it's just in my soul to compete. it's keep me. If I compete, I train better.
I think competition helps motivate us to push.
Yes, I think so. For me, it's almost I can say it is in my blood. I have to do it, and I'm used to set a goal for me. I have set a goal. I want to do this when I will before I will be 40, and I set a goal when I was 39 years old, and I decided that I want to compete in a fitness competition, and I did it. I stood on a stage and did it once. That's because I just decided to do it. And then I decided before I will be 50, I will do something new and find my something that I can put my soul in again. And that was the bike. And this summer I decided, of course, in the last year, I decided that I wanted to do something new. I wanted to compete in something new sport or something new. And that was the gravel. I decided to do it, and I'm very happy I could do it because of my problems with my neck and the body. It was very difficult in December when I had the polymyalgia rheumatica. It's a kind of a arthritis.
Arthritis in your neck.
Yes, the whole body, and it's a kind of you have it maybe for 1 or 2 years.
Oh.
And you have to take a lot of called prednisone, some steroid. It's the solo in the body. That was in December. I was feeling a little bit hurt in my neck and the upper part of my body, and it was very difficult. I go to a doctor and have this. He said to me after I have some blood test that it was something that I have to deal with maybe for 2 years. Yes, so it was December and January and February. It was rather hard for me, but it's okay now. And in April, I was able to train again. So I just start a little bit, do everything more every day.
Yeah, build up to it again.
So I was going to ask you how you approach recovery and injury prevention. It sounds like you had to recover you had to come back from lack of training.
Yeah, I had to do that, and it was much easier for me because some friend of mine, those women that know me here in Akureyri and know that it was the thing with me, they said, how can you do it? And I said, if you have always think of that and you have always been athletic and take care of yourself, it is much easier for you to recover from things like that. And you have to do something every day to recover and to prevent that you get worse, because that's the best thing to do. But women are often think I have just to take it easier.
Right.
But it's not that you have to do. You have to do more.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to keep going, right?
Yeah. And that's why I decided, because I have always lift weights and do that. But the last 3 years, I was always doing more on the bike and have a little time to do the strength training.
Yeah.
Because of this, I just decided now I have to do it again. Now I do it 3 times a week.
You do strength training 3 times a week?
Yes.
Wow, that's great. That helps you prevent further injury and recover.
Be stronger on the bike.
Right, right. It is all about the bike, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's great.
Because I think I will be able to be as active as I want to be if I can use the bike. I know I will not be able to run a lot because of my knees. I just know that, because if I run 5 kilometers, maybe I 5 to week time to get better in my knees. I just have to accept it that it is not a good opportunity for me to do that. So I think that the bike will be my friend to be as active as I want, because I want to be active as long as I can.
Yep, that's a good goal, right?
The whole family, we are all in sport.
The whole family.
Yeah, we have. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and we have all been in a sport, the handball or basketball, and we compete. And my kids and their kids and all the grandkids, it's all about sport. That's the main thing that the family, if we are meeting together, we always talk about the last game, the yesterday, or how it went on the bike with my daughters and something like that.
So no one is encouraging you to sit back and stop bicycling.
No, sometimes my mother, especially after the thing that with my body in December, the polymyalgia, it's very difficult for me to pronounce the kind of the arthritis, but it is a arthritis that is in the all muscle of the body. That's the type of the, and it was, of course, difficult time, the 3 months. And then she said to me, Dísa, maybe you need to do a little, not so much, not train as much as you do. But that's the one time she do that, because she have always been very favorite that we are all in sport, and have been very motivated to us when we were kids to do that. So
was she in sports? Was she active?
No, she was never in sport, and not my father.
Oh, so all right. Wow.
Every people said, "Oh, your parents, they must have been in sport," but they weren't.
Interesting. How about fueling? How do you approach nutrition and during the long races?
Yes, it is necessary to do well in that, and I try to do that, but sometimes it's very hard for me, because you have to train you to do that, because in cycling you have to eat a lot. It's like that, and you have to have a very good nutrition before the for the race, and before the practice. And if you are doing more than maybe 90 minutes practice, it is necessary for you to have something with you on the practice or in the race. So it was difficult for me to start to do that, because I was not used to do that. In my time when I was playing soccer, you just go to the practice, and you were not thinking about to have something on the practice. You just have water, and that was it. So just after the practice, you go home and take care of the nutrition, or have your dinner or lunch. But yeah, it was very difficult to train the nutrition, and that have been the hardest part. You have to do very well there, because if you not do that, you will just stop.
Run out of energy.
Yeah.
Do you eat in any particular way? Follow any sort of way of eating?
Yes, in the summer, I try to have a lot of carbohydrate, but the pure thing, more a lot of protein. But I'm not used to do not some especially nutrition. I just know that I have to have carbohydrate and protein and fat. But before the race, not so much fat. It's all about the carbohydrate the day that you race and the day before. But yeah, I'm just I use just the public advice, lot of fruit and vegetables and meat, fish, especially fish and chicken the day before the race. The main thing that I do, I just try to not do the different this day or the other day. I try to have my nutrition just healthy. My daughter have helped me to see the light, as you say, to see the different if I am willing to eat what I need to eat
Okay,
to
yes.
fuel me up. I see the different, but it took me 2 years to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. It takes a while, I think, to understand how that makes you feel differently, the nutrition.
And for last 2 years, I have used some app. It's like, I think you know the MyFitnessPal,
That's my
Right.
favorite one too. Yeah.
but now I use Icelandic app that have been designed here. It's a couple here in Akureyri that designed it. It's they're called Live Track.
Live track.
Live Track. It's good for us here in Iceland to have Icelandic app. It's just the same as MyFitnessPal, but
Okay.
it's but it's more in it, and I follow it, and then I can see if I'm not having that I have to have. I use that, and it's very helpful because I sometimes I forget to eat if it's a busy day for me at work. I sometimes I just forget to have my dinner sometimes.
Well, you've got to keep your body fueled when you're really doing a lot of hard training, that's for sure.
Yes.
So here's a question for you that will help our listeners. What advice would you give to women, especially women over 50, who are interested in getting into cycling but may not know where to start? How would you suggest they get started?
I think it's a good advice to do same as me. I just have my bike. I was lucky. I didn't have to buy my first bike, but I have now bought a better bike, so it's easier for me to do a better thing on the bike. Just start. Try some bike. If you are alone, you just go alone. You just start. I think you will meet somebody, but just do a little. Maybe you can go for 30 minutes, but not stop because of you are alone. Set some goals. Maybe when I start, I just do 2 days a week. It was my first year. Maybe 15 kilometers and 20. We start somewhere. I think it's necessary to set a goal, as I did. I just decided to start, and I started just 2 days, and the next summer I was doing much more, 4 times a week.
Okay.
Just 5 years later, I was cycling every day, and I was so different if I couldn't go on the bike because it was so liberating to can do it, to sit on a bike and do some difficult stuff, get sweaty, and the energy that you have when you finish this, being able to do it again.
Here's another sort of bigger question, I guess. How about balancing your training with everything else in life? So, family, work, house, whatever. How do you make it all work? How do you fit that all in?
Now, of course, we are just me and my husband now. But when my children were young, I just woke up 5:30 in the morning and go to practice. And my husband was home, and then I come home and the children go to the school. I always find time for myself. And you have to put your self in the front, because if you don't think about you and your health, you will not able to do what I can do now with my 5 grandkids. I can do almost everything with them. And that have always been my thought, that I have to Of course, I was not thinking about it when I was maybe 10 or 15 years old. But when I had my first kid, I decided I had always tried to be fit for my kids and of course for my grandkids. It's so fun to can do that, but you have to take a time for yourself. If somebody call you and ask you to go out or take some part or in something that in the work or something, if you have decided to go on a training, you don't skip the training. Of course, you have to do it sometimes, but it was not that for me. I just decided, okay, if I cannot go 5:30 or 6 in the morning because of something, the kid was sick or something, I go later that day.
Yeah, you really put yourself first, and that's how you can stay
Yeah,
fit.
of course, it has been very sometimes difficult, but I stopped playing soccer when my youngest kid was 2 years old. So you see, it is possible to do that. You just have to organize the home and everything very well. But if you want to do it, you always find the time to do it, and you always find a better situation to do it. But don't make a excuse that it's a lot of do in the work, and there's a lot to do this. Yeah, I have to do this and I have to do that. If you have all that excuses, you don't go to practice. We know that women that are over 40 or 50 or sometimes over 30, they always have to think about that. What will it be after 10 years if I always take all the other things in front of me?
So before we wrap up, we'd love to hear, do you have any kind of motto or philosophy that keeps you going when the going gets tough?
Yeah, I have a motto, but I'm not sure that when we can pronounce it. But it's a motto that the health is your first wealth. Do you understand?
The health is your first wealth.
Yes.
Yes.
If you take care of that, you will be able to go through a difficult time. If you get sick, it will be easier for you to heal from the sick. That's my main motto. And of course, you have to spend to make. You have to spend time in things that you enjoy, because if you don't enjoy it, it will be easier for you to skip it. So to spend the time to do what you enjoy and with the people that you love, it will be much easier to do it. And you always have to think about, because of I'm a nurse and have a lot of interest in the public health. I raised my kids up like that. You don't take elevator. If you go to the grocery store and you go take a car, you don't put the car next to the door to the store.
Yep. You get extra steps by parking out far away.
And they have said to me that they always remember it, and they try to take that to their children. So sometimes you are just putting a little seed, and you think that it will not be so much in their life later, but it is always like that. You just have to take care of your body and do the best thing for you to have that good body. I'm so happy that I can do the things with my grandchildren. I'm playing the soccer with my kids, and because I was a goalkeeper, I can do the goalkeeper with them now, and they are so said to me, "Granny, can you do that?" So yes, I can say to every woman, just do what you like to do. Put yourself in the front, because if you don't do that, it will be much difficult to do it in the later life.
That's true. Definitely.
Yeah, good advice. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us a glimpse into your life in Iceland and for inspiring us with your story.
Yes, thank you. I hope you have enjoyed. Of course, it's maybe difficult for me to explain all the things here in Iceland, and because of the foreign country. But sometimes people are asking me that they think that there's a snow the whole year, and you just live in the snow house.
Well, I didn't think that, but Iceland has certainly become the tourist destination for a lot of people, I have to say. It's a big vacation
Yes. Yeah,
area.
he's been much grow in the tourism for maybe last 10 years.
Right. My next door neighbor said to me, "What are you doing today?" And I said, "I'm talking to a woman from Iceland." And she said, "I'm going there in next September."
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
just made me laugh. But thank you. You've really shown us what's possible. I think having that competitive spirit really helps and being passionate about something. So thank you. I think that was very educational.
Yes. And I'd like to remind our listeners to go to the website, to the show notes, because we're going to have a lot of photos there, some fabulous photos from her that you really want to see to help you become inspired by all of this. So just as an aside, we'll have those on the website in the show notes there.
You're never too old to compete. Remember that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we will see you in the Becoming Ellie group, if nothing else, and talk to you soon.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow. I really enjoyed talking with Disa and just feel so inspired by hearing all of her achievements and her challenges along the way. You know, she shared with us her motto that health is the first wealth. And I so truly believe that good health and strength really makes such a difference in your life.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. I think that's the most important thing, really, when it comes down to it. Doesn't matter so much what size clothes you wear or whatever. It's being healthy to do all the things you want to do.
Yeah. And I mean, as life goes on and the years go by, I have a different concept of what healthy is, but I still firmly believe it's the first wealth. And I love that she shared that motto with us.
Yes, I agree. Absolutely. I know you're right about it changing over the years. I see the doctor more now than I did when I was in my 30s, but
Well, sure.
But that,
Yeah.
that's how life is. So that's good.
Right. Well, and that's why we're becoming Ellie, right?
That's
Trying
right.
to
Fit
stay
and
fit and
strong.
strong. And she also says, do what makes you happy and do a lot of it. And that's true too, because I don't feel like it's work when I'm working out. If it's fun activities, stuff that I like.
Yes, finding things you enjoy doing is so important. I think part of finding things that you enjoy doing means that sometimes you do things that you don't particularly enjoy, like some sort of training thing maybe, like, I don't know. Some people don't like to run, but they may sprint on the treadmill because it helps them be stronger for whatever else it is that they're doing. That's all.
Well, and also new challenges brings a chance to learn new things. And when you're in a learning mode, like I'm trying to do line dancing. That's my new thing lately because it's such a mental exercise for me. None of the steps are hard on their own. I mean, you step to the left, step to the right, nothing is that kind of challenging, but remembering them all in a row during the music when you're going fast, that's hard for me.
It is hard. My one observation about line dancing is sometimes so I don't do line dancing, though I think that might be fun. But if you sit and watch, like in a bar or someplace where people are line dancing, most people are concentrating. They're not smiling. They're not looking happy so much
Right.
as they're really focused on what they're doing.
Right, right. And when you're just learning something new, whether it's gravel biking, I mean, I've never done gravel biking. I've done street riding, and then I've been riding on gravel with my street bike, which is most uncomfortable. But, finding something you love, you really will do it more often and do it a lot, like she says. And she also talked about her motto of never stop setting goals. And I thought of you when she said that, Jill, because you always are setting goals. I feel like,
I find when I don't have goals, like right now, I don't really have a good goal. So I'm struggling with that. But I feel like having a goal helps you know where you're going. I don't know. It's just not mindless going to the gym or whatever. And I just feel like having a goal makes you focus better on what you're doing.
Yeah, it definitely helps with focus, but also a feeling of achievement as you look back over the last quarter. Like one of your more recent blog posts was about strength building season. Here in the States, we're in the fall and the weather is turning worse. So it's time to start building strength again. And
Right.
I feel like maybe I should be setting a goal for my strength building. Maybe it's just doing it. But no, I mean, having a strength building goal might be a really good idea for me.
I mean, your goal could just be, I'm going to do it X number of times a week or something, but it is kind of nice to say, I'd like to see progress in whatever.
Yeah, more sets or more reps or more
or
weight. Probably more weight. That would be the thing, right?
More weight would be, you have to go through more sets and more reps to get to more weight, but
that's true.
That's the goal.
True.
If the goal is I want to bench press something or bicep curls or whatever you might want to do, I want to do 100 push-ups.
No, that's not my goal. 100 squats. No.
No.
But you know what? Before we get off on another thing here, I wanted to make mention, and I really appreciate Disa speaking with us for a long time in a language that's her second language. Or I don't know. It's certainly not her first language. And she was so kind and generous and thoughtful to do that. It takes a lot of courage to come on a podcast, where
Yes, for anyone, but
for anyone.
But to also do it not in your primary language is very admirable. I was so impressed that
Me too.
she was willing to do that, and I thought she did fantastic.
Me too, and I just appreciated her so much for stepping out and stepping up to this big challenge. So thank you, Disa. And if I want to remind you again, listeners, if you have access to a computer or your phone, to go to the show notes and take a look at these amazing pictures, because she just supplied us with lots of great photography that I appreciate so much. So
I just loved all the competitions she does and
yeah.
a major part of her life. It's obviously not the only part of her life, but it's obviously something that brings her great pleasure.
Yeah. It was wonderful that she was willing to share so much of herself with us.
So if you're listening, let us know if you have any thoughts on our talk with Disa. I don't know whether if you've tried gravel bike, I'd love to hear about that.
Right.
Whatever, competitive cycling, road cycling, whatever. If you have a thought, please share it with us.
Yes, please let us know your thoughts. You can leave us a message at becomingellie.com. And you can also find us as Becoming Ellie on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, and LinkedIn.
Please consider joining our private Becoming Ellie Facebook group. And I have another thought. If you're leaving us a message and you have thought of anyone that you think we should interview, send us that message too. We'd love to hear your suggestions.
Yes, very much so. Now, if you enjoy listening to our podcast, you may also enjoy the Reinvention Rebels podcast. Hosted by Wendy Battles, it features stories of unapologetic women 50 to 90 years young, who have boldly reimagined life on their own terms to find renewed purpose and possibilities. Wendy believes that reinvention is a natural part of life and something that many of us have done numerous times. To listen, visit reinventionrebels.com for powerful discussions about aging vibrantly.
We talked with Wendy in episode 144. That was almost 2 years ago. Can you believe it?
No, time is going by so darn fast.
Yes. We had a great conversation with her about reinventing ourselves. So basically the theme of her podcast. But so I encourage you to go check out her podcast because our conversation was great.
Yeah. Well, it was really good talking with you today, Jill. I'm looking forward to the next episode of the Fit Strong Women Over 50.
I am too. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.